Today, we're taking a closer look at one of the most famous fights and fight films in boxing history. The epic 1923 match between heavyweight champion Jack Dempsey and his challenger, Luis Firpo of Argentina. First, a little background about the film. The fight was photographed by a crew hired by the promoters. The movie had limited distribution in the US due to federal laws, but was seen internationally. In the months and years after the fight, as with many early motion pictures, prints were lost or discarded or fell into private hands. Years later, the surviving footage of the fight was pieced together into a newsreel-style documentary, which has been in circulation since the 1940s. I have several print editions of the Dempsey-Firpo film and have assembled as complete a version as I have of the fight. With the aid of high-definition scans, we can examine the footage in fresh detail. I thought a closer look at the film might address a few questions about this controversial match. Jack Dempsey, the Manasseh Mauler, emerged as a boxing knockout artist and leading contender in 1918 with 15 wins. At 6'1", 187 pounds, challenged and knocked out the 6'6", 245-pound champion Jess Willard in Toledo, July 1919. From 1920 to 1923, Dempsey made 4 successful title defenses. The first was Billy Misk, KO'd in 3, July 1920. Bill Brennan stopped in 12 the following December. George Carpentier finished in 4 in New Jersey, July 1921. Only Tommy Gibbons went the distance on July 4, 1923 in Shelby, Montana, losing to Dempsey in 15 rounds. Luis Angel Firpo was the first boxer from Latin America to fight for the heavyweight title. Firpo was nicknamed the Wild Bull of the Pampas for his strength, punching power, and relentless aggressive style. Arriving in the United States in 1922, the 6'2", 216-pound heavyweight fought his way up the ranks. Within a year, Firpo had won 12 fights with 11 by knockout, including knockouts of Bill Brennan in March 1923 and stopping former champion Jess Willard in 8 rounds the following July. With the showdown between Jack Dempsey and Luis Firpo finally set, the bout was held at the Polo Grounds in New York City on September 14, 1923, in front of 85,000 spectators. At the bell, Dempsey takes the fight to Firpo and runs directly into the challenger's best punch, an overhand right that drops Dempsey to his knees. This fact has long been established, but not often seen due to an edit in the film. As Dempsey is falling, there's a jump cut, and the action picks up a moment later with the fighters in a clinch. This is the first of over 11 jump cuts I found in the footage, some creating noticeable gaps in the action, while some breaks appear random, others appear intentional. Another cut, this time as Firpo is knocked down. You can see the splice at the top of the screen. The fight continues. Firpo is knocked down, gets up and is knocked down several more times. The age of the film and lack of clarity makes it difficult to gauge every punch, particularly the impact of each. As powerful as he was, Firpo was an awkward, at times clumsy fighter. His lack of experience put him at a disadvantage against a seasoned boxer like Dempsey. Yet, Firpo rises each time and throws himself back into the action with remarkable determination. Despite having been off his feet 5 times, Firpo had the strength and drive to knock Dempsey down a second time, this time with Jack landing on all fours. Twice more, Firpo goes down, once from a right hand and partial slip, and another from an uppercut. According to the New York Times, the neutral corner rule was in effect. Firpo was quoted as saying that he was surprised when Dempsey stood directly over him when he was down. But following the fight, the State Athletic Commission, quote, took no action regarding referee Johnny Gallagher's failure to enforce the rule on either Dempsey or Firpo. Suddenly, Firpo finds his footing. He drives Dempsey back to the ropes. He clubs and mauls as Dempsey attempts to fend him off. Firpo holds Dempsey's chin with his left and follows through with a sweeping right that begins as a punch but ends as a shove. Dempsey falls back between the top and middle strand, which acts like a giant rubber band, flipping Dempsey's legs briefly over his head. Dempsey's rear end bounces over the edge of the platform and allegedly onto the typewriter of New York Tribune writer Jack Lawrence. In less than a second, the film shows Dempsey lifting himself upright. As Dempsey climbs back between the ropes, there's another cut in the film. The sequence goes from medium to a long shot. There's long been a debate about how much time Dempsey was out of the ring. Witness testimony ranged from 4 to 14 seconds until Dempsey climbed back inside the ropes. The film and the cut are keys to the timeline. I zoomed in the long shot to compare with the first camera view. There's a very slight difference in the 2 camera angles, but when comparing the positions of the referee, Firpo, and the ringsiders, the cut is a match. It turns out there's no gap between the shots. The timeline is unbroken. Dempsey is seen quickly scrambling back into the ring. He even had the presence of mind to hold down the bottom strand, climbing back to his feet as the referee counts 4. The entire knockdown sequence lasts less than 5 seconds. As Dempsey gets to his feet, it's now Firpo who stands close by. Launching another attack, Firpo drives Dempsey back to the ropes not once, but 3 more times. Dempsey holds, parries, and evades enough to survive. Finally breaking loose, Dempsey turns Firpo around and slams home a counter right. The challenger covers up in the final seconds of the round. At the bell, Dempsey tags Firpo with the left as they separate, but the referee intervenes. After being knocked down by Firpo, Dempsey said later, "I saw 8 million stars," and claimed to be blacked out through much of the fight. In the second round, Dempsey lands a series of left hooks. The two wrestle in a clinch, and Firpo stumbles to the canvas, Clearly not a knockdown, but the referee counts anyway as Dempsey walks to the corner. With Dempsey's back to the camera, there's a mix of grappling and swings on the inside. Firpo drops for the last time and is counted out. Dempsey and handlers lift Firpo to his feet as the challenger looks over at Dempsey, perhaps unsure if the fight is actually over. As Dempsey's arm is raised, he has an expression of relief and exhaustion. The champion takes a moment, then walks over to pay respect to his vanquished challenger. Controversy swelled immediately following the fight and continues to this day. Many protested that the referee did not enforce the neutral corner rule. Others contend that Firpo shoved rather than punched Dempsey out of the ring. And Firpo may have escaped being counted out early in the first round. That, according to United Press sports editor Henry L. Farrell, who wrote that 10 seconds had lapsed after the fourth knockdown. But the timekeeper hesitated, and the referee lost track of the count, tolling 9 rather than 10. And finally, it's unclear from the film how much meaningful help Dempsey received from ringsiders. Dempsey was never completely off the ring apron. His descent was likely halted by the typewriter table and at least the face and hands of one journalist. But being in the path of a collision is not an act of assistance. The question is over a technicality. The film suggests that it was Dempsey who, in less than 5 seconds, got himself back into the ring. In the end, this epic match played out through all its excitement and drama just as it was meant to. As with many great sports events, it was a roller coaster ride of thrilling mayhem, of missed opportunities, of rules cast aside, of raw athleticism where luck had no favorites, where no human was really in control, and when time itself seemed to go off the grid. And yet, somehow, in the end, the fight brought itself to a justified and thrilling conclusion. Decades later, in 1951, the Associated Press sports writers voted the Dempsey-Firpo fight as the, quote, most dramatic sports event of the first half of the 20th century.